Welcome. I am Stephen Collins. I'm the CEO of Matter. For those of you who are watching who aren't familiar, we are a healthcare technology incubator and innovation hub built on a belief that collaboration between entrepreneurs and industry leaders is the best way to develop healthcare solutions. Since we launched a little more than 5 years ago, we've worked with more than 500 companies that range from very early stage to growth stage startups. And we have a suite of services to help them grow. We have a curriculum, it has more than 100 classes in it, focused on what a healthcare entrepreneur needs to know in order to build a compelling business. We have 4 mentoring programs that surround entrepreneurs with people who can help them grow. Our clinic is an office hours program where subject matter experts volunteer their time and startups sign up to meet with them. We have mentors in residence who are seasoned executives who commit to mentoring 4 to 6 startups over a 6-month period of time. We have 2 venture acceleration fellows on our team who are each 25 plus year healthcare entrepreneurs who can really dig in with our member companies and help them grow. And most importantly, we have PointB, where we take a venture and surround them with a team of advisors who help them advance from point A to point B, whatever that is, whatever that may be, over 6 months of coaching and guidance. For the last 6 years, we've worked with the Canadian Consulate to execute a special version of PointB every year, where we take companies from north of the border and help them advance their solutions and enter the US market. This year, we've been fortunate to work with 6 companies, each with fantastic technologies that can help patients and providers here in the US. PointB teams have been working with these companies for the last 6 months, really since February, but as you know, this has been a funny year. Today, we're delighted to share with them. So you'll hear from each of the companies as they present their solutions, share some of what they've learned, as well as what they're looking for next. And sorry, you're going to hear from 5 of the 6 companies. One of them was unable to make it. I really want to thank the Canadian Consulate, especially Laura Dalby and Julian Rosen, who we've worked with on this program this year. So with that, I'd like to introduce Steve Gould, who will be the MC of today's program. Steve is, most importantly, a Matter board member. But in addition to that, he's an operating partner with Abundant Venture Partners, an entrepreneur in residence at the University of Chicago, and he is, and has been for a number of years, an incredible mentor for healthcare startup companies. In a previous life, he was chief of surgery at Michael Reese Hospital, which is where I was born, although I do not believe that he was involved in that process in any way. And he started and led and took public a fascinating biotech company called Northfield Labs, which was developing an artificial blood product. Steve has worked very closely with the consulate on this program and really for the last 6 years on this initiative. And with that, I will turn it over to him.
Thanks, Steve. No, I can't take credit for being there at your birth. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 2020 Vice Presidential Debates. Oh, I guess I have the wrong audience here. So I hope nobody minds. I'm wearing my heart on my head with my cap today. I want to welcome you too to this program. This is the first. I'll just give a brief background about this program. Matter opened in February of 2015 on a Tuesday, and that Wednesday, I think it was around the 15th, the first C2MP program occurred. And it was really the first official program at Matter, aside from the opening festivities. So we are inexorably bound together. The program has gone through impressive growth. The first year there were 3 Canadian companies. I think it was the first 3 years there were 3. The program expanded to 6 companies, and the breadth and depth of the program has just increased every year. And I am particularly thankful to all the members, representatives from the Consulate General, who brought a lot of best practices that we've incorporated in many of the mentoring programs, particularly what was the SIM program is now the PointB. The only thing we're missing today is the hallmark of these events, which, thanks to the opening event and the Consul General at the time, Roy Norton, a firm commitment to an endless supply of beer, but such is the year of COVID, so you'll have to all do that on your own. As I said, this is the first so-called pitch event. There are over 130 people that are registered today, including a number of investors. And I think that's just another evolution that we are appreciative to the consulate for bringing to bear. So the format is a bit different today than the regular meetings. Each of the companies, 5 presenting companies, will be telling us about their product, their solution, their experiences through the program, through the mentoring program, their current status, and they're going to end with an ask of the audience. That could be that they're looking for investors. I think they actually all are. They can be looking for customers. They can be looking for entrees to strategic partnerships. And based on that, as you heard from Steve, the format's different. There'll be no Q&A, no live Q&A during this session. So we'll be showing the link frequently throughout this, reminding you to please sign up for the one-on-ones over the subsequent days and weeks. So that's the format of the program. The timing, they're spaced 13 minutes apart, so everybody has 12 minutes. I don't think there'll be any issues with time, and that'll give us 1 minute in between to arrange the transition. And Casey educated us all a few minutes before we started, so hopefully this will be technologically a success. So before we jump into the program, I'd really like to introduce Laura Dalby. As Steve said, we're very appreciative this year to Laura and to Julian Rosen, who are the 2 individuals currently managing this from the consulate perspective. Laura?
Thank you, Steve, and thank you as well to Stephen Collins for your warm introduction. As they said, my name is Laura Dalby. I work with the Consulate General of Canada here in Chicago, and I'd like to recognize that Julian Rosen is also on the line, and he's been working really closely with all of the startups since February, when we've been moving to this new model of virtual sessions with the companies and the mentors. It's really a great pleasure to be here for the conclusion of our 6th cohort of the Canada-Chicago Mentoring Program. And we've been working with PointB at Matter for 6 different groups of companies. And we are the ones that had the very first international partnership with Matter. So we're very proud of that. And we're pleased that we've been working together to support this entrepreneurial ecosystem in both Canada and in Chicago. So these wonderful 6 Canadian companies that we have, I'm just going to name them here for you. We have Axem Neurotechnologies, Cohesys, Moitrix, Opt, Torus Biomedical Solutions, and True Angle Medical Technologies. So they've been working with their mentors. They've been working through all of these challenges of 2020, including the global pandemic. So this meant that this is the first cohort we've done that's been almost entirely virtual. We're so pleased they were able to come down in February for our launch event in Chicago. So these companies, they haven't let any of the challenges stop them. They've pivoted at home and abroad, and they've been working on these amazing life sciences innovations that you're going to hear about today. So I know we're really excited to hear from them. I won't speak for too long, but I just want to mention as well, this is kind of a 2-part event, and thank you for Matter for organizing this pitch, as well as the opportunity for people to follow up individually with all of these companies. I hope you do afterwards, or share with your other colleagues and businesses if you think you hear something that would be good for them. I want everybody to know that we're going to be launching our call for applications for our 7th cohort sometime in the next week or so. So stay tuned to our social media. And of course, we'll share it with Matter as well. We're going to be looking for our next group of Canadian companies to be working in partnership with PointB at Matter, just like we are doing here. So a final thank you to PointB at Matter, to the mentors, to everyone who is attending to hear the results of this program, and a big congratulations to all of the Canadian companies for completing the program in these very challenging times. Back to you, Steve.
Laura, and thanks again to you and your colleagues and the Consulate for all of this. So we're ready to go. So the first presentation today is from Axem. Tony Ingram will be presenting. And if this works, Tony's gonna show the slides. So, Tony?
Yep, here we are. Okay, I'll go ahead. Hi, everybody. My name is Tony. I'm a physical therapist, and for years I've worked in neurological rehabilitation. So most of my caseload were survivors of stroke. So I saw firsthand the gaps, many gaps in their care. I went back to do a PhD in neuroscience with the hopes of making it better, and then co-founded Axem with the co-founders that I met in my laboratory. So stroke is devastating. It's considered by some to be the #1 cause of adult disability, severe adult disability in the world. Next year, there will be over 6.5 million survivors of stroke in the United States, 1 million new strokes next year. And rehabilitation is really the only evidence-based solution to promote recovery. However, it's not very cost effective. In the US, you spend $42 billion a year in stroke rehab, and unfortunately, almost half of patients fail to receive a clinically meaningful improvement. And 3 months later, about 80% are still disabled. So innovation is sorely needed in the space of stroke recovery. So previous studies have shown that using brain data, functional brain data, you can guide therapy and provide 10 times greater chances of responding to therapy and 2 times greater improvements from therapy. However, these devices have always used large, expensive, inaccessible technologies that you'll never see in a rehab center, and most certainly you won't see at home, which is where most rehab occurs, should occur. So Axem will be the first rehabilitation device to provide these benefits at scale. So while patients are guided through their home exercise program, for example, Axem will provide them with feedback about their brain activity through a tablet app. So this allows patients to shift their brain activity patterns away from compensatory patterns that inhibit recovery and toward patterns that are known to drive recovery. Meanwhile, data is securely sent to providers who can monitor their adherence, their progress, and manage the program. And later on in our product roadmap, we are planning to offer predictive analytics so that professionals can further customize the program for patients. So for example, customizing how many hours of therapy that they receive rather than everyone getting the same, which is roughly what happens now. So our initial go-to-market model aligns every key stakeholder, and this getting this positioning right was really largely a key outcome of our mentorship through this program. So patients will receive accessible, engaging therapy in the comfort of their own home, and it will cost them less than half of what they normally pay for rehab because of their co-pays, even with insurance. Providers, of course, have a chance to improve outcomes, and we'll show that with our clinical trials in the future. But they'll also be able to unlock a significant new revenue stream because they're able to bill for monitoring patient progress. And what we've discovered is most rehab specialists are not billing these codes yet. Payers that are Medicare, private insurers, they get to see outcomes, which they know what they're paying for, and that's a common complaint from them. And they are able to just use existing reimbursement codes to pay for this, and they stand to save a lot of money doing so. So Axem has sponsored primary market research to validate this model, including third-party arm's-length interviews with all these stakeholders. For instance, they interviewed management at Blue Cross, Geisinger, Medicare. And it's important to note that this is merely our initial go-to-market model. Payers have already expressed interest in negotiating value-based contracts with us. It's less risky for them and it's more lucrative for us. And we can also enable telerehabilitation services through our platform. So provided many of the COVID-19 related changes of reimbursement are still in place by the time we go to market, we may be able to avail to that as well. But assuming we don't, assuming we're bringing in just $100 per patient per month, the market opportunity, of course, worldwide would be huge, theoretically, but our target market is much more focused. We'll be focusing on US-based stroke specialists and physiatrists and helping them set up remote monitoring programs with their new stroke survivors. So assuming no other products or additions to our business model, our financial models show defensible revenue projections that are in a few years in line with what is typically seen in medical device exits. So we believe that the timing for a product like this is really key. Unfortunately, more people are having strokes, but many more people are surviving them. But this just means that more people need rehab. And more people are going to be expecting this to occur in their homes, which is the general trend of healthcare. And fortunately, payment models are beginning to favor solutions like this. Now, of course, we will have competitors. Aside from the standard of care, there are others addressing home rehabilitation, typically using motion tracking technology. Now, none of the benefits of brain activity data that I described earlier will be available to our competitors. Of course, research devices can measure the signals that we do, but they're not appropriate for this use case. And there are some portable devices, but they're not powerful enough to measure what we need. So Axem will be the first stroke rehabilitation device that can measure brain activity signals that are valuable for stroke rehab use cases. So briefly, as I can elaborate on this in a follow-up meeting, our technology leverages what's called functional near-infrared spectroscopy, or FNIRS. We didn't invent it, it's very well established, but our innovation lies in its miniaturization and portability while maintaining the power necessary to measure known biomarkers of stroke recovery. So recently, we had a third party test our device against large laboratory systems that are 100 times more expensive than our prototype, and we demonstrated equivalency in the data and the signal that we could detect. So the textbook signal is here on the left of the screen, and you can see the comparison between our prototype and the laboratory device on the right. We were able to detect that signal just as well. And of course, we have patents filed for these solutions. So right before COVID, unfortunately, this study was cut short, but we were able to test on survivors of stroke, and we were able to show that the patients are able to put our device on independently with one hand in less than 15 seconds and start getting measurements from our device. And with that data that we measured, we were able to show that our brain activity measurements indeed are able to predict the patient's functional status. So demonstrating that Axem can measure the signals that we need that are relevant to stroke care, just like laboratory devices. Now, that's probably why we have we're thankful to have very prestigious institutions on board for our early clinical pilots and clinical trials that are starting actually by the end of this year. So we have Mount Sinai in New York City. We've got Massachusetts General on board with a Harvard neurologist as the PI. TIER, one of the top rehab centers in the United States down in Houston, and we've got one Canadian site in Calgary. So thus far, we've raised less than $1 million US, and we've overmatched that with non-dilutive financing to accomplish what I've described to you today. And we've met with FDA several times and established our path to market, which is a de novo pathway. Our next steps, for which we're seeking financing currently, focuses on clinical development. That'll set us up very well for future financing to support regulatory and go-to-market activities. So our vision, in the long term, we believe that our first mover advantage will allow us to build a proprietary data set that for the first time includes neurological data, as well as the treatments patients received and their outcomes. So we'll be able to develop, using artificial intelligence, individualized treatment plans for stroke recovery patients. The possibility space from here is very wide. Our core technology can be applied to other neurological conditions as well. Now, we've built a very strong team on clinical and technical expertise. Our full-time employees are all focused on product, but we fill our gaps with regulatory and reimbursement consultants. Regulatory consultant, for instance, is fantastic. 20 devices cleared, 5 being connected devices similar to ours. And our reimbursement consultants used to build sales teams for Medtronic and do payer marketing for Johnson & Johnson. And now currently we are seeking financing, 1.5 million US seed financing to push our clinical development forward. We do have a lead investor established, and we've got about 3/4 of the round circled, and we'll be opening this round early next month. Happy to discuss these details with you in a follow-up conversation if you're interested. And I'll end with a quick summary, and this summary also is a product of some mentoring from the team here. But we believe that we're well positioned to capitalize on an emerging category that is digital neurology. So it's a huge market opportunity. There's an aging population. Healthcare is going to home. Payment models are evolving favorably. All the trends are at our backs. The wind in our sails. Regulatory path is identified. Technology validated. Strong team and great clinical partners. So with that, I'll close by saying, if you're interested in learning more, please do contact me, screenshot this email, and I would love to talk to you. So thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you today, and have a great one. Thanks very much. Thanks,
Tony. Really well done on multiple levels. There was a question that came in that I'll start with, a generic question. What is the point, what is the purpose of the office hours? So for the audience, the purpose of the office hours is multiple fold. So Tony gave an ask. Very specifically, he's raising money. Again, and I think all 5 of the companies are. If you have any interest in learning more, that's one reason. Second reason is some of the other asks are a little more specific. They're looking for entree to potential customers, if you can do that and are willing to do so. The third is if you can potentially be a liaison to a strategic partner, a potential strategic partner. Or the last is if you just find this interesting and want to learn more. Those are the reasons for the office hours. It's not really for more mentoring. This is for your benefit based on this. I want to use Tony to comment on all of these. I saw these presentations, all 6 of them, and worked with all companies back in January. We're preparing for February. They have come an incredibly long way. These presentations today are really polished. They're dramatically improved from where we start, which is a tribute to both the presenters today, I think in each case the CEO and founder, but also to those of you that are mentors on the phone. And we at Matter continue to be so appreciative of all that you bring to this as volunteers to contribute to this healthy ecosystem. These are really fantastic. My last comment, and Tony typifies this, but it's true with each of the presenters today. Tony's a physical therapist, right? This is in his field. Each of the presenters in their professional life identified a problem, an unmet need, and pursued the concept of invention and innovation and entrepreneurship to bring something forward that will be help to mankind and at the same time build a business. And that's what Matter's all about. And his final comment, he did this, and most of the others are doing it some way. The buzzword for everything today in healthcare is data. Everything in the world is data. So thank you, Tony. Thanks to all 5. Well done. And again, sign up, all of you, for any of those reasons to learn more. Great. So the second presentation is from Cohesys and Michael Tessier.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking the time today. I'm Mike Tessier, the COO and co-founder of Cohesys. And if there's one thing to remember from our presentation today, we're the company that's making duct tape for bones. Cohesys is based out of Toronto, Canada, and we were founded back in 2018, and we used inspiration from nature to really create a platform of surgical adhesives. I'm going to spend a lot of time today talking about craniomaxillofacial fractures or fractures to the midface. But really, what gets us excited about Cohesys is we think we can disrupt several multi-billion-dollar markets by replacing inferior existing technologies. The original problem we're looking to address is that craniomaxillofacial. There's approximately 1 million of these fractures every year between the US and Europe, and they really can result from anything from falls to sports injuries to automotive accidents. And the way they're fixated right now is using titanium plates and screws. These are systems that have been adapted and miniaturized from long bones, such as arms and legs. But the issue is the bone in the face is much more different. It's complexly contoured, thin, brittle, and access is quite difficult. We've been in surgeries which range from anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, and easily a quarter to a third of that can be the surgeons trying to bend these plates to the right contours of the face. And there's these large kits here that nurses have to use, hand the right size screw over to the surgeon. There's all these different shapes and sizes, which really add a lot of complexity. It's very time consuming and difficult, which obviously adds to the cost of the surgery. As well, there can be a lot of complications as high as 50%. I remember I was at a networking activity a couple of years ago, and I met a guy. He took a hockey puck to the face, kind of in Canadian fashion, about 5 years prior, and he actually had the screws in his face started to become loose. Whenever he used an electric toothbrush, he would feel the screws in his face rattling around. He went to the surgeon and asked to get it removed because of the incredible quality of life impairments it was causing, and the surgeon refused, saying it was too minor of a complication. So these are issues that patients are facing and the hospital system is facing as a result of these current systems. So what we've developed is BONETAPE. It's used our proprietary adhesive technology on a flexible backing. It's applied directly on the fracture by the surgeon. You still have to do surgery, but it drastically reduces fixation time as there's no need for drilling. It's activated very quickly and rigidifies like a cement. It totally resorbs, so it should improve long-term patient outcomes while also drastically reducing the time of surgery. And it's really what we've developed here is the first adhesive in the world that can adhere to wet bone. No other company in the world has a BONETAPE. And so the two things we're really comparing BONETAPE against is both titanium, which I described earlier, as well as resorbable plates. So those are mostly used for pediatrics where the skull is still growing, and they're resorbable, but they have issues. So right now, if you want to use resorbable, the surgeon has to heat it up in a water bath and it becomes weak and difficult to use. It's kind of like a wet spaghetti, and so very difficult to manipulate. And the screws are very brittle, and so that's the failure point of those. Ours adhesive architecture is built up of building blocks that are already approved by the FDA. It's completely biodegradable and novel and doesn't require solvents and very minimal pretreatment required. It's flexible, and there's could be some benefits such as being translucent, so the surgeon can see through the tape to see the fracture. Where we are today, we've continued to show the strength is comparable to the existing resorbable systems. We've done a whole slew of biocompatibility studies. We've surpassed the strength of resorbable plate on wet bone. We've done a number of successful ex vivo work in rabbits, and tentative to having surgeon availability tomorrow night. We'll have the very first live animal study tomorrow night, which is very exciting. We've been working on scale up of synthesis and product assembly, and we also did a third-party consultant study on 50 KOLs, and the university showed interest. We often hear the feedback being, oh, I thought idea for duct tape for bunch 20 years ago, but then I couldn't do anything with it because obviously I didn't have the technology to make it work. In addition, we raised a 1.4 million safe round early last year and are close to matching that in non-dilutive financing. The existing players in the CMF space are Dupuis Synthes, which is part of Johnson & Johnson, Stryker, Zimmer, and Keolis Martin. The existing hardware, this is just for the hardware, we estimate the total cost of the surgery, including like the labor, the cost of the OR room, et cetera, is several times this amount. But this is the amount we're looking to displace. So it's 2.5 billion across the US and Europe. With every surgery, that costs the hardware ranging from 2,500, which is around the cost of titanium, to about 12,000, which is the cost of the resorbable systems. As far as our IP position, we have currently 3 patents, 1 granted, 2 provisional on the architecture, and we have several more being drafted right now. Our regulatory, working with a regulatory consultant who's approved dozens of products in the facial space, and we have identified the 510(k) pathway with well-defined predicate device. But again, what really gets excited about Cohesys is not just the CMF, but multiple medical indications. So the issue with medical adhesives to date is they've lacked having what we consider the 3 pillars of what makes a great medical adhesive: strength, biocompatibility, and quick curing. Things like cyanoacrylates are really great for topical applications, but have toxicity concerns, whereas things like fibrin, which are commonly used for hemostats, lack strength and preparation and are very costly. And that's what we're going to get us into, like the additional markets I talked about earlier. So right now we have a team of 8 with 3 on the business side and 5 supporting the product development side and regulatory application. And we're right now onboarding actually 2 more employees. The small animal study will go into next year, where we'll then begin a manufacturing pilot with a CMO, and then later do a CRO towards the end of next year to support our 510K application. We don't need human studies for the 510K, but we will do some post-market assessment, which will get us sales around late 2022 or early 2023. And we're looking to raise a Series A mid next year to support not just the commercial rollout of BONETAPE, but really support the product development on several other applications of our platform, so it can quickly access these several multi-billion-dollar markets, which we think we can disrupt. Some takeaways from the CGMP program. While it's not the incredible focus, we've had several discussions with the US military about using our technologies in austere environments, as there's great interest right now for that. And so we spent a lot of time with our mentors, how we can structure studies for de-risking and really fit into focus areas as closely as possible. But as I'm sure you're all aware, a lot of this military funding right now is being directed towards respiratory health, given the world of COVID that we are in. Really, they emphasized building relationships with KOLs, CROs, CMOs, distributors now for when we need them in the near future, and just stay connected. So although it was difficult to meet in person throughout the program, they provide a ton of insights, and we hope to stay connected with all of them as we continue our journey. What we're looking for is investors interested in a Series A next year, KOLs interested in being early adopters, as well as distributors interested in future partnerships, so we can quickly accelerate our revenue once we get the FDA 510K clearance. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Another outstanding talk. Again, I just want to commend all 5 presenters today on how polished and poised the 2 have been, and the other 3 will be, because I've gone through them. Number 2, I want to echo how impressed I am at the really novel and disruptive nature of the things you're hearing about today. These are really at the cutting edge of advancing treatments and technologies in healthcare. And last, Michael was very specific about what they are looking for. So I think we'll be flashing the sign up link for office hours, and please sign up if you have any interest at all. You're not committing to a check if you just sign up to meet with them. It's just to learn more. So great, thank you. And we're doing great. Everybody's way ahead on time, so I'm not gonna have to cut anybody off today. So I think we're ready to go to the 3rd presentation with his op, and it's Mohsen Omrani.
Thanks everybody for your time today. My name is Dr. Mohsen Omrani. I'm the CEO and co-founder of OPT, the online psychotherapy tool. Every year, $3.3 trillion is spent on healthcare expenditure, and 90% of that belongs to chronic disease management. And importantly, comorbidity of mental health problems have a significant effect in changing the cost and increasing the cost of chronic disease management 2 to 3 times. And by cutting, the prevalence of mental health problems across chronic disease patients only by half, we could save around $500 billion a year. So the question becomes, why is it that more frequently mental health care is not offered as part of chronic disease management? Well, the challenge is that in its current form, mental health problem is quite expensive. It's inaccessible to a lot of patients. And given the sheer size of the problem, we simply don't have enough clinicians to provide traditional face-to-face care. Well, that is exactly what we are trying to address in OPT. We are trying to modernize the patient engagement through their problem mental health challenges, and rooted in evidence-based clinical trials. OPT combines medical level precision with clinical trial validated psychotherapy tools and machine learning algorithms to make mental health care more accessible and affordable, and increase the capacity of care among different organizations. OPT is built upon 4 major pillars. We have a higher standard of care. We have therapeutic content, which has been validated through actually 8 clinical trials. And we have published 5 peer-reviewed articles already. We have been commissioned by the Springer Nature to write the first handbook on how to deliver online psychotherapy. As all our content are clinically validated and standardized, healthcare organizations could utilize a lower cost personnel to deliver a high quality of care. And at the same time, we are collecting a lot of analytical data from the patients and provide it back to the clinicians to improve the quality of the care and to support long-term care through remote mental health status monitoring. So how does OPT work? Is that, as I mentioned, we have disease-specific, clinically validated material in this pre-designed care therapeutic modules. Each session is assigned to the patients. Patients go through the modules on their own time. At the end of the module, there is a homework. They do the homework, submit it, and the clinicians only provide personalized feedback on the homework and skip repeating the same generalized material across the patients. This way, they can do 4 patients in 1 hour rather than just 1 patient. At the same time, we are collecting more than 20 different behavioral, clinical, and physiological data and provide analytical feedback for the clinicians and some suggestions regarding how the patient is going and progressing and how they can change their path, based on which the clinician could decide whether to continue the path or adjust it and add medication maybe or video face-to-face. And so we are a B2B solution and our customers are healthcare organizations, and here's how we can save costs for a healthcare organization. As I mentioned, because all the content and processes have been clinically validated and standardized, a healthcare organization could use social worker or coaches instead of psychologists to deliver the care. There is 4 to 5 times saving right here. And as I mentioned, because of the increasing the efficiency, instead of handling 7 to 8 patients a day, clinicians can handle 25 to 30 patients. And because everything is preset, in a full round of therapy, instead of being 12 to 15 sessions, can be delivered in 9 to 12 sessions. Altogether, a full round of therapy, which used to cost around $3,000, could be delivered as low as $150. As I mentioned, we have a few different clinical trials in a range of diseases evaluating the efficacy of this care model. We have done clinical trials on depression, anxiety, borderline personality disorders, and we have shown 25% to 45% symptom reduction all across the board. And another challenge with psychiatry in general and a more self-guided text-based solution in particular is patient compliance and high dropout rate. They're usually 20 to 30% completion rate. But using our hybrid model of self-help and having supervised by the clinicians, we keep the patient accountable, and we have completion rates of up to 90%. And outcomes, as I mentioned, are comparable or even better than the traditional face-to-face, but the efficiency is up to 20 times more than traditional care. So that was all mentioned so far was mostly on the therapeutic side. On the other side of what we add is our proprietary AI algorithms. So for instance, we use natural language processing and for instance, when the patients submit their homework, our algorithm goes through their homework and automatically highlights the most sensitive and symptom-related sentences in the patient's homework. Blue is depression-related symptoms, red is anxiety-related symptoms. We also provide session-specific feedback templates. So each module comes with like 12 set of feedback templates part of the template is static. They don't need to change it, across patients. But part of it is dynamic, and we provide the training how they could use this content that we highlighted to write the dynamic part. And within the next 12 months, 6 to 12 months, we aim to actually prepare the first draft for the clinicians so they can do this process much faster. We also use this technology for remote mental status evaluation. Our initial evaluation shows that we can predict mental status score of the patients by 90% specificity. Also, we can use it for outcome predictions. For instance, we have actually, using the first 2 sessions of patients' homeworks, we can predict the patient dropouts with 70% accuracy 3.5 weeks in advance of patients actually dropping out, which is information that clinicians can use to adjust their care. As we are focused on improving care outcomes while lowering costs, naturally our target market is value-based care delivery organizations. In the first step, we are focusing on partnership with synergistic digital telemedicine companies who would like to add behavioral health services to their offerings, or would like to improve the efficacy of the services that they're offering right now. But as I mentioned, our main target is payers that we are going to save a lot of costs for them, like healthcare plans and ACOs. And finally, we could go to our health systems and pharma companies. And our biggest asset is naturally our team. We have an expert team of clinicians, developers, and advisors. As I mentioned, I'm a medical doctor. I have a PhD in neuroscience and a postdoc in computational neuropsychiatry. My co-founder, Dr. Alavi, she is a pioneer in online CBT. She has a background, 14 years background in doing research on online CBT, and these 8 clinical trials she has done. We have advisory board from data science, like lead scientists from Tesla, or in the business part, we have veterans in healthcare like Dr. Dugu Chlebi and Ewan Amigi, who were VP and SVP of Optum and United Health Groups. We have won the Mental Health Innovation Zone Award from the American Psychiatric Association in 2018. Queen's University Department of Psychiatry has been our first paying customer and our research partner, and we just recently closed our major enterprise contract with the 2nd largest telemedicine company in Canada. And we have partnership with a few different insurance companies as well. We have currently 1,000 patients on the platform, and with the new contracts, we are on target to bring the top patients to 5,000 by the end of the year. So this has been an amazing opportunity for us. Our PointB mentors, Larry, Ron, Torus, Dan, and Jane were really involved and helpful, and helped us, learn more the U.S. healthcare system and potential customers. We calibrated our business plan to fit the U.S. market, adjusted the message, and they provided amazing information about the strategies to raise investment funding in the U.S. But we know that the job is not done. It just has been started. We have a good representation in the Canadian market. We are trying to really break into the US market. So we would definitely appreciate any consult to improve our business plan. Any help with introduction to US market clients or champions who could actually expand our foothold here, and help with any brand recognition would be fantastic. And also we are raising our seed money. We are trying to close it by the end of Q1 2021 of $2 million US. So if you're interested in any of these cases, we would really appreciate your help. Finally, I should thank all the partners, especially the Canadian Technology Accelerator, Chantel, Laura, and Julianne for their amazing support. Thank you very much.
Again, another superb presentation, and also another novel technology, continuing on the theme of data and machine learning. That's where we are today. So please, as before, if you have any interest in any of the areas where Mohsen said they would welcome support, please sign up. I don't know, Sam, if the link is flashing, I haven't seen it again, or whether we're going to do it at the end. Mohsen stole my line. I was scrolling through the list of participants over the last few minutes, and I want to shout out to one of the people that he mentioned that was instrumental in kicking his whole C2MP program off, and that's Alexi Roy, who spent a number of years here in Chicago. So welcome, Alexi. I'm sorry I can't see you today, but thank you for joining us. Thanks for all you've done. And the other one he mentioned is Chantal Glass, who retired this past year, and we miss her, but they were the two when this all began. So glad to have you with us, Alexi, and thanks to them. So really, we're right on track. We're ready for the fourth, which is Torus Biomedical and Shahram Amiri.
So good afternoon, everyone. If you're not on the West Coast, my name is Shahram Amiri. I'm the founder and CEO of Torus Biomedical Solutions. We have a smart imaging solution for orthopedic applications. The idea behind our product is to assist surgeons do their best for patients having access to efficient and accurate imaging during surgery, and doing so hopefully also saving a lot of money for hospitals and healthcare system. So the big problem we are tackling is that for some very commonly performed orthopedic procedures, a large percentage of patients leave the hospital after surgery with some kind of malalignment in their anatomy or implanted devices. And that can really lead to a lot of problems, patient experiencing pain or disability, or at times need for them to return to the hospital for an expensive and painful revision surgery. If we focus our lens and attention to the adult spinal deformity correction surgery, which is our beachhead indication, the data shows that 40% of the patients after these type of procedures experience failure of the surgery for issues that can be rooted to mechanical malalignment of the spine. And 50% of these patients require a revision surgery ultimately as a result. And the drama doesn't end there. You know, after the second surgery is done, out of those, 80% will even need additional third or more surgeries over time, which typically involves extending the fused level of the spine to upper and upper levels. Patient pain aside, this is also a significant financial burden. In the US alone, there is over $850 million for direct cost associated with these revision surgeries for this particular indication. If you look at what happens during these surgeries, we realize that the lack of proper technology in the OR is one of the main reasons we have these postoperative issues. Long film x-rays, also known as 36-inch films, are normally the standard of care to visualize alignments of the anatomy in this type of procedures, but they have many limitations. The main one being that they are extremely cumbersome to set up and completely disruptive of the surgical workflow that basically makes them practically inapt for the job. So our solution to this problem is ConfirmMap, as we're showing it on as a mobile stand on the top right side of your screen. The way the ConfirmMap works is that the radiology technician simply rolls the system to the operating room and uses it along the side of a mobile C-arm. Mobile C-arms shown in the center on the top are almost always already available in every orthopedic orthopedic surgery, and they are primarily used to produce real-time but small size X-rays during operation. Our system simply plugs to the standard ports of these devices, and all of a sudden you can have the capability to be able to do quantitative radiographic analysis very accurately and efficiently. And the core part of the product that enables that is our unique patented technology for combined tracking, calibration, and image processing software. So if you go back to the spine procedures that we talked about, using the system, now the OR staff can quickly visualize the operative anatomy through an accurately calibrated long biplanar views that is shown on the bottom right corner of your screen. They can establish very accurate baselines for the measurements, and they can confirm the spinal alignments, but only at a fraction of time and radiation compared to the current standard of care for imaging during surgery. So our solution ultimately helps reduce complications for patients. It can assist surgeons to take on more complex cases. It helps hospitals better utilize their existing capital equipment for better outcomes, and also aligns well with policies for transition to value-based care by payers. So when we look at the competition, our closest competition that is in the market now uses a basic image stitching technology. I try to explain that with these images on the screen. But long story short, compared to image stitching, ConfirmMap can visualize and measure spinal alignments at many folds less time and radiation, which is really a tremendous advantage for being able to be a practical tool and utility for these type of procedures that we talked about. So in the example pictures that I have on the screen, ConfirmMap only requires 4 C-arm shots, as you can count in the middle. But this is against 19 images that is required from competition to visualize and measure the offset and alignment between the neck and the pelvis here on the frontal plane of the pelvis. And you can imagine surgeons normally like to do this type of evaluations on multiple critical points during surgery. So having an efficient and accurate technology at their disposal makes a real difference. But the difference doesn't end there. Even more importantly, maybe images that are from our competition can be used only for qualitative assessment and visualization only, whereas images produced by ConfirmMap have sub-millimeter accuracy for quantitative assessment, which is really what surgeons need. Regarding to how this generates revenue, we're considering a pay per use model, $600 per case, and an annual $200 service contract with the hospital user. So for a high volume center that does a large volume of these cases, over 300 cases typically, this generates $200,000 per year per hospital for Torus. So based on the described model that I just mentioned, our target market, including the lumbar spinal fusion in the US, is $145 million in size. Expanding the indications to trauma and hip arthroplasty in the US, we are looking at an $880 million market. And considering the global opportunities, our total addressable market is over $2 billion. We are a very lean team. We are a team of 4, and you see here our team leaders. I'm the CEO and CTO of Torus. I have over 15 years of medtech R&D experience in the same exact area. Dr. Swami is leading our clinical. He's a spine surgeon and is also an expert in surgical navigation technologies with previous consulting experience to many well-known navigation companies. Without going through the details of the background of all the mentors and advisors at the bottom, we are backed by a really solid team of internationally recognized clinician and scientific advisors, as well as seasoned mentors in various areas of the business. So in the last 3 to 4 years, we have come a long way. We are at the point now that we have completed our R&D, and we are at the design freeze. We have protected our IP by 3 US patents, 2 granted, one pending. In the next 9 months, our plan is to prepare and submit a 510K application, and that's our confirmed regulatory pathway. And we plan to do a soft launch of our product in the US within the next 18 months. So in parallel to the product development activities that we're doing, we've also been busy doing clinical work. We have done pilot clinical testing of our technology locally, and we have done our pilot on 10 patients so far. Hopefully we can resume that soon after the COVID situation settles a little bit. Our plan is to complete the current pilot, and we are in conversation with a potential partner to start a new pilot at their site, and this is a very exciting opportunity for us. And the intention is to have a paved path for commercialization once we received our regulatory clearance. So our ask is a seed round. We're raising $500,000 seed that will be matched with the same amount from non-dilutive fundings. And this is to support our activities I mentioned for preparing and submitting a 510K application. And that concludes my presentation. I really look forward to connect with people in the audience that are interested in our company and what we're doing, and like to hear more. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sharon, for another excellent presentation. So once again, I'll say, please sign up for office hours if you're interested in learning more, and for any of the asks on his slides. I do want to make a special commendation to all 5 of these, as well as this company. COVID's clearly infected the entire world. And I think we've seen the creativity, resilience, and adaptability of today 5 entrepreneurs and their companies, and how to navigate a totally unexpected crisis and yet continue to advance. So kudos to all of you for doing that. Great. So the last presentation is TrueAngle, Jana Rieger. I had the privilege of sitting in, I think it was 3 of the mentoring sessions, and again, I got to see firsthand how well this process works that we developed over these years. So I will again thank all of the mentors, and thank all of the entrepreneurs and presenters for participating with an open mind as this process. So, Jana?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dr. Jana Rieger. I'm the CEO and founder of TrueAngle. We're a health tech company who's created a remote digital solution for patients who have swallowing disorders. This comes from a clinical need that we identified early on in our journey, and I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get something in line here. Early in our journey, and this was really important for us because we were seeing patients for whom this luxury of eating had been taken away. So, like billions of people around the world, Melinda loves great food. Eating is something that she does more than just to survive. It's about her social life, it's about her ability to connect with others, and countless moments of joy come from having a great meal together. But unfortunately, Melinda, like one of 250 million people who are diagnosed with dysphagia this year, will have this problem. Now, dysphagia is the medical term for swallowing impairment, and it's caused by conditions like cancer, stroke, Parkinson's. So Melinda will have two choices. Essentially, she can blend her food and drink it, or she can get it through a tube in her stomach. And even though she does these things, she may still end up in the hospital with a pneumonia because food has gone down the wrong way into her lungs. What we know is that a third of patients who are hospitalized for dysphagia-related pneumonia will die in hospital from it. Now, it doesn't have to be this way because there's a therapy that retrains the muscles of swallowing, and that therapy is based on foundational research. The problem is it requires going into a hospital every day to get hooked up to this gargantuan machine, and this can last for months. So this is obviously not only inconvenient and costly, but right now with COVID-19, it's a big risk for patients because they may already have lungs that are compromised. So our solution is this discrete remote system called the Mobility. It does for a fraction of the price what the big cart does, but more, because it's connected to our smart software through an app. So it's the first device-enabled remote monitoring system for dysphagia in the market. And what it utilizes are smart software with a proprietary swallow detection algorithm. It gives the patient personalized exercise targets. They get biofeedback about what they're doing and progress trackers. And all of the data that's collected from their muscle contractions are housed in a cloud-based data warehouse so that they can be connected to their clinicians. Our future roadmap includes the implementation of machine learning on those data so that we can personalize the system even more. Right now, the Mobility is affordable, it's discreet, and it's remote. TrueAngle has entered the growing health at home market with a business model that combines both fixed and recurring revenue streams. So the fixed stream is our sensor hardware. The recurring streams include a software subscription model and the sales of consumables like adhesives. The pricing for this model was based on market research with patients and understanding what their willingness to pay would be. With respect to our competition, we're out there in a blue ocean right now. We outpace our competitors in terms of price, style, convenience, and technology. In September, we entered the market through a B2C strategy. What we're doing right now is we're fine-tuning and we're strengthening our value proposition with the real-world evidence that we're collecting with this. Our intention is that we want to have a product and a business model that truly fits our customers, and from there we'll iterate and expand. We have a 20-year global presence and reputation in this area of clinical research, and so we're drawing on that to connect with clinicians and recruit them as our influencers and channel partners. So just this morning, for example, there was an influencer from Arizona, which is my alma mater, who had posted a review on Mobility, and 15 minutes later, Instagram was going crazy and it still hasn't stopped. So we know that there's a need and a desire for this product with the clinicians that we're talking to. We're also using this as an opportunity for early product market validation to inform a future B2B pathway. We've been reaching out to clinicians from the networks that you see in this slide here, where we're discussing things like reimbursement for remote physiological monitoring and how that might be an incentive for wide-scale healthcare adoption for them. We now have product in 11 states in just 1 month. And what we're hearing from the East to West Coast from clinicians is that this is a game changer for them. So our aim now is to really focus on these channels of early adopters, test our sales and marketing campaigns, and develop a repeatable sales model. In our first year of sales, we expect that there will be a near equal split of recurring to fixed revenue. Our goal is going to be to increase the recurring part of that ratio, and we'll do that by carefully monitoring our subscription offerings and the pricing strategies that we have around them. When we look at the total serviceable market for the Mobility, we estimate that there's likely around 1.25 million customers worldwide, and that would lead to an annual global gross revenue of $685 million. Looking ahead to an exit, we're starting to open discussions with partners who potentially could be strategic. We're looking at 3 areas. The first are nutrition companies who already have products for dysphagia, but they're food-based products. We know that they're looking to expand their product offerings with technological solutions. We're also looking at med tech companies who have a desire for finding mobile solutions to this issue of providing therapy for dysphagia. And we're also really interested in software platform companies like Amazon, Apple, Walgreens, Best Buy, who are getting into the health space and who would be interested in third-party integrations onto their platforms. We have a seriously fun team. We're serious about our work and we love to have fun together. Dylan Scott is our CTO and he has deep technical knowledge. He's been working on this since its inception. Dr. Gabby Constantinescu is our Chief Product Officer. Gabby has deep knowledge around the product and the customers. And I have a 20-year clinical research history where I've been able to understand this population as well as develop global networks that we can draw upon for the rollout of this product. This team has been together for 7 years and we've raised over $4 million, which has been a combination of grant funding and private investment. And we've used that money to develop, test, and now get this product to market. We also have an outstanding supporting team who've been with us for over 3 years and a really strong group of business mentors in Alberta, in the Valley, and most importantly today here in Chicago. Which is a nice segue to our time at Matter in the C2MP. It was extremely valuable for our team. We were really lucky to get a team of mentors who were engaged and knowledgeable. We were led by Mary Beth Arzak, who was incredibly helpful, and she had a lot of fun, and the team had a lot of fun with her. There were so many takeaways from this experience. It was really difficult to narrow it down, but we picked our top 3. So the first was around pre-market traction, and the advice from our mentors was get on with it, and which was really point-on advice. So since April, we've been focusing our efforts on that. We've been learning daily, and we're now seeing results. The second thing was around how we could use clinicians as our promoters and our channel partners, and looking at that with respect to how they could facilitate a B2C model. So we're talking to clinicians daily. We're learning so much about their patient populations. We're learning about their acceptance of technology. Some are ready to go and promote. Others are going to need some education. Most are desperate for a way to be able to track what their patients are doing with this kind of treatment. And we've also learned about where these clinicians hang out and how we can reach them. The third thing that the mentor group spent a lot of time on was a strategy around going from a B2C to a B2B model or some combination thereof. So we really clarified our regulatory pathway that we have ahead of us. And we're now validating that in our discussions with clinicians by understanding how they view reimbursement, what they need to make this business model work for them, and what would incent them to use this product. We anticipate that we'll be raising capital in the new year to grow our sales. But in the meantime, we're working to understand our customers like never before, target the right channels, and test our campaigns so that we'll be in a competitive position for this raise. So in closing, I just want to say how grateful we are to our mentors who guided us through this so thoughtfully, how grateful we are to Matter Health for all the fantastic online opportunities and meeting spaces for learning and connection, and how grateful we are to the Consulate General of Canada for creating this program. And I just want to fully disclose that when things change in this world a little, I'm going to hop on a plane and fly to Chicago, and I'm just going to come and sit in the Matter Health space and soak it in. So in closing, I'd encourage any interested investors to get in touch with me to start talking about our company and our team and our aims for the future. We're looking forward to you being a part of our team. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jana. I want to thank the Consulate General, everyone that's here today and everyone in the past for starting this program and for giving us another terrific idea to do this first of the so-called demo day or pitch day. To me, this is a real winner. It's a big add to the entire program. I want to thank the mentors in particular for these 6 teams. We didn't hear from the 6th, but all of the mentors on the line and all the other participants on the call today. I know we have a number of investors. And while I looked through the roster and recognized many names, there are a lot I didn't know. So if this is your first interaction with Matter or C2MP, welcome and get involved. And lastly, I really want to thank the team at Matter for doing this in the midst of the COVID crisis with the first time event, a brand new event, in particular, Sam, Priyanka, Claudia, and Casey. To me, this went off seamlessly today. So with that, I think we have finished right on schedule. Thank you to everyone. Stay safe and hope to see you all in person sometime soon.